Into home plate while I got my X notification.
Yeah, hey, I got some background music. I've done this before, but bonus points to anybody that recognizes this music in the background that I hope we don't get dinged for copyright. I don't think we will.
Was this Rush Limbaugh?
Nope.
I know this, but I can't place
Yeah.
it. I've heard it before.
Yeah, it just it'll kind of date you as to how long you've been using computers. We'll leave that hint out there.
Yeah, no doubt. So here we are for a Bossier Watch. We took last week off. We didn't do a show. I mean, I got to tell you, it's like there's not been a lot going on. I mean, we had that one council meeting, and we showed the first council meeting of the new council. We talked about it a little bit, and there were some intricate things that took place. But beyond that, it's been pretty boring in Bossier.
Well, yeah, it has been, and honestly, even this week's not been super exciting. Now, I gotta correct you though. We didn't take the whole week off because we did a Thursday night podcast with the outdoor news, and even though it's not necessarily political, it's got a little bit of a political bent to it with the subjects we were talking about, and definitely stirring the pot or the stirring the corn, shall we say, on Thursday nights.
Well, what good is corn if you don't put a little Tony's in it and you put a little butter in it? And I would contend that that's what we, us Louisiana boys, are doing. We're trying to put a little Tony's in mixed in the corn. And I think we're going to get the politics rooted out here to the top real fast. It's coming.
Yeah, so anyway, so we didn't completely take the week off, but from Bossier Watch, honestly, we could have done the whole show in about 30 seconds last week.
Yeah, it was that boring. It was that boring. Hey, I was so desperate to try to find something to talk about, right? I went and watched police jury meetings, the last two.
Oh, God help you.
They were
Well,
boring.
okay, but now you got to hurry up and go watch them because they won't be there in 30 days.
I I went and watched them. See, now I've got a reason to criticize. So if they're not going to be there in 30 days, I didn't know that. But it's like I've heard you say that before, but I'm glad I went and watched them now. But I got to tell you, I don't know why they're deleting them because there was some pretty good stuff in there. They were talking about PUDs and having dialogue and debate, and I got to tell you, I thought it was informative and I thought it was good. I don't know
Well,
why they
look,
wouldn't want that out there.
so I got to give credit where credit's due, and sometimes I'm on Mr. Sad Owl a little bit, but he did bring it to my attention that with Facebook's deletion policy. So, in case you don't know, for those of you watching, Facebook, company wide or social media platform wide, has instituted a policy. They did this a few months ago, where after 30 days, live videos are removed. Live videos. So that means Bossier Watch, after 30 days, this show will be deleted. Now, I want to remind everybody, we're on YouTube. So if you want to see any of the old past shows, just go to YouTube because all of them except for the first 50 are there, and I have copies of those. I just hadn't had time to upload them yet. But back to the police jury. So how does that come into play for the police jury? Well, the police jury does, I got to give them a little bit of credit, they up their live streaming game. The problem is they only live stream to Facebook, which now means that their meetings, those meetings are getting deleted after 30 days. So you would have to request the meeting audio or video from them under public information requests, I guess, because I haven't seen anywhere else that they're posting those videos. Maybe somebody else in the comments can let us know.
Well, maybe we need to send them a request and ask them about their, meeting policy. I know there was some recent legislation and they made some changes. I need to go back and study that, and there may be some questions we need to follow up on there.
Yeah, and I've got a cut in there. Let's see, it was Act 539 of 2024. Yeah, let me put that up there real quick, and then we'll do the countdown and the break and all that. But Act 39 of 539, excuse me, Act 539 of 2024. This is the enrolled version, but it's practically the same. Anyway, it says the parish governing authority in a parish with a population of 25,000 or more shall broadcast live all of its proceedings and public meetings, including the parish governing authority's committee meetings. The problem with this act is it doesn't deal with what to do after they've been broadcast live. I looked through it. I could be incorrect, so everybody double check me. But I looked through here and I didn't see anything in the legislation that deals with archiving of those meetings, for instance, on a YouTube channel or whatever platform the governing body wants to use.
Well, this is what I don't get. The perception of what the police jury is doing is as if it looks like they're wanting to try to hide things. But yet when you look at, I mean, for me, when I'm looking at the meetings that they're doing and the discussions that they're having and things, I mean, look, a lot of people may be mad at me for this, saying this or whatever, but I feel like it looks like they're trying to be more transparent. And
Well,
so
look,
the two don't go together.
again, giving them credit, they fixed their audio problems. Their live streams are much better, although it looks like a game show the way they have it set up. But at least they got the audio there. That's the main thing. But, and it's not their fault that Facebook instituted this policy of deleting the live videos. Now, I could go back and re-upload all of the shows as standalone videos, and Facebook will let them sit there. The police jury could do the same thing. It's kind of a pain. It's honestly easier to do from a technical standpoint on YouTube, but there is zero reason why they can't broadcast to Facebook and YouTube. It would literally cost them nothing to do it.
I am not disagreeing with you on that. Well, all I'm saying is I'll bet they haven't got to that point in the processing on this thing. And if they're having this open dialogue and it giving the appearance that they're trying to discuss things more in public and be more transparent, it would seem like a simple thing to ensure that the videos are on YouTube to where everybody would see them forever. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they probably hadn't even considered it.
They probably are not smart enough to even consider that.
Well, see there, you, the political jackal that you are, putting words in my mouth. How about that?
I just have to snipe at them whenever I can because it's been a little quiet on the home front with the police jury lately. Okay, so enough about that. Shall we go ahead and let's do the countdown and do the intro, get that over with, and let everybody like and share and follow and tag and send carrier pigeons up in the air and all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. So look, there's only been 2 shares. There's about 35 of y'all right now. We want to see some shares. Come on now.
Share this out on your personal timeline.
Yeah, just click that little share button. Look, we're talking about your community. What is the worst that can happen? Somebody knows that you watch Bossier Watch.
In some circles that's good, and in some circles that's very bad.
Who knows? You may get a pay raise as a result of it, or somebody that you didn't know watches is going to say, "Hey, I saw where you watched and you shared. Good job! I love that show."
You could be infamous with me and Duke Lowry. Infamous. All right, I'm going to hit the button. Y'all know the drill. We'll be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. Y'all like, share, tag, like Duke said. And let's get this out there. We've got a little bit to talk about, not super long tonight. But here we go. I'm going to hit the button in 3, 2, 1.
If folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
And I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS.
We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Through conscious shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr. In theory, you know, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go.
And Lynn Beatty, and what's that other fella's name? I don't know him, but he messaged and called me, and I have to return his call. I got it here somewhere. Give me a second. I'll find it. Well, maybe not.
Moreland?
Maybe. Yeah, that's it. Brent Moreland. Yeah, I got to call Brent Moreland back and kind of chit chat with him. He's called a while, and it's my fault. I've not returned his call, but we need to see about whether either of those cats will want to come on and talk about their race, why they're running, and what the point is.
Yeah. Well, look, we've said it for 200 and some odd shows now that all politicians or candidates are welcome to come on the show, to get their message out. And hey, they're welcome just like anybody else.
Yeah, no doubt. Can you hear that yapping dog in the background?
I can, but it's a little muted and subdued, so that's okay.
Yeah.
What's he yapping about?
I don't know. I am assuming the bride of my house, one Kara Lowry, aka the Queen of Acadiana Mortgage, is coming home, and he's just letting me know she's making her arrival.
Our good friend Ryan Haygood says, watching from the TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx, you buying a coat or something?
I don't think I may have been in the TJ Maxx once or twice. I don't even
Wait a minute, am I so old school that I'm still thinking that's a clothing store when it's now a restaurant or something?
Oh, I don't know. I'm old school Kmart days, blue light special, the whole thing.
Oh, I remember that too. Hey, Speaking of blue light specials, did you see what our stupid government did? I mean, just when I thought it couldn't get any dumber, they did something else stupid today.
All right, so I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm not going to get on my soapbox about the whole Epstein bungling of that. But let's just say I'm not a happy Trumpster still, but we'll see how it plays out. But what else stupid did they do today?
Well, I mean, I know that all of our followers and everybody that's watching, I mean, they are all just on pins and needles about the Genius Act.
Yeah, and see, I wasn't familiar with this one. I didn't know they had made an act specifically for me. But what is this about?
Well, no, this was going to make all of us in the United States, they were going to, by decree of the United States government, make all of us geniuses. I mean, they were going to set us all separate and apart from everybody in the world. We were all going to be geniuses.
That's impressive. I mean, there are a lot of, I guess it depends on your perspective, whether there are a lot of geniuses or a lot of, let's just say not so genius people.
But as fate would have it, the Democrats and about 13 Republicans said, you know what? We don't need no more geniuses. We need to keep it all to ourselves. We're the smartest people in the room. No way we're going to let these other regular folks be geniuses.
You,
Absolutely not.
so, in looking at the name of this act, I've got to say, maybe I missed the part where Doge and Elon Musk were trying to ferret out the bureaucratic arm of our government that just comes up with these silly names. The Crypto Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the Anti CBDC Act. Crypto Genius Act. Right. Anyway, so give me the quick rundown on it.
Okay. So whether the majority of you and Ryan Haygood, look, of everybody in our comments, I mean, Ryan Haygood is on top of this more than probably any of the rest of anybody out there. But, if you've been following things or, I mean, the banking system and all that kind of stuff is changing. Everything is in flux. There's a lot of stuff happening. The Genius Act was a big portion of changing our monetary system. Y'all all hear a lot about the Fed. You hear about the fiat currency. You hear about all this kind of different stuff. So, and Ryan Hogan says the bill is going to change our lives. He's absolutely right. What you know today and how banking and how finance and money and monetary, all that stuff is going to change like overnight. And in some cases, a lot of you are not even going to realize it. But this Genius Act thing was a big part of that. And the problem is it's I mean, look, Rex, you've heard it. I mean, they've done movies about people and allegedly China prints, fake money and all this stuff.
Whoa. So let's get away from the fake money deal because I mean, just let's look at the real money. Let me pull out a dollar bill here. And let me find it. It might be a little hard to read, but if you pull out a dollar bill out of your own wallet, which is not really worth $1 anymore, it says, and I quote, "This note, NOTE, is legal tender for all debts, public and private." Well, you know what the interesting thing about this is? See, it says it somewhere up there in that corner if you can see it. But anyway, it's not really worth that much. And it is backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. So let me remind everybody, as I get back on my soapbox about being a not-so-happy Trumpster at the moment, that this big, beautiful bill, and see, that had to come from this bureaucratic arm of the government that names bills. The big, beautiful bill, that had to have been a Trump name. That big, beautiful bill added a big, beautiful $2 trillion to our government deficit. And government debt. It's mind-boggling.
That's right. But this thing is so diabolical. If you went back in time and you got some of the quote unquote dollars that say backed by gold or remember that when we were on the gold standard, there was a difference in the currency. The dollar you just held up and the dollar that was under that previous, those were two different dollars. They're different. Well,
but even if you have those old dollars, you can't go cash them in on gold because we're not on the gold standard. Refresh my memory. Was it Nixon or Johnson? I can't remember that took us off the gold standard. I think I may have just been born.
It was before then.
Okay.
But the point is, and that's why a lot of people are like of the opinion that this so-called 37 trillion, $38 trillion in debt, that's not really a real thing anymore.
Oh,
and
well, it's not if we give a big FU to China and Russia and all the other countries that have issued the debt.
Yeah, but here's the problem, and this thing is so diabolical. You've got different countries. A lot of other countries like China, they say China supposedly has like a comparable debt that like we have as well too. The things that offset, people with the fiat currencies establishing all of this debt is the fact of their gold reserves. Like the United States has the highest amount of gold reserves. I think China is right up there somewhere at the top as well too, but they have gold actually technically that would offset those
all right,
those debts.
But let's hold on, pause for a sec. Hold your thought. So we have to talk about what makes gold valuable. Now, as a metal on the periodic table, gold has some intrinsically cool properties, but it's not exceedingly rare. As a matter of fact, diamonds certainly are not rare. I mean, we can manufacture diamonds. We can't really manufacture gold. Well, anyway.
Well,
But
I'm
here's
going
the
to
thing.
disagree with I'm going to disagree
Lithium,
with you because if I can go out in my backyard and dig a damn hole, I'm not going to find any damn gold.
you're not, but gold is not as rare as we think. It is just not easily obtained. You have to mine for it, and we have mined a lot of the easy to obtain gold, but there is a lot of gold still in the earth, and that's a whole other
That's right.
conversation. Oh, there's a lot of lithium. I've been talking and mentioning this lithium deal up in southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana. Lithium is, is worth a lot too. Anyway, I'm not saying gold is not valuable. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying gold has a high value because we value it. We like the shiny, malleable gold and like its properties. Therefore, it has a high value.
I would agree with you. In essence, it's another fiat currency. Definitely.
Yes, but it is one that you and I can easily trade and barter for. We were having this discussion off camera, and that's
you can wrap your head around it.
And that's what I've always tried to explain to people who say, "Well, how can cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or whichever one, how can it have any value?" It's because I say it has value, you say it has value, we enter into a transaction, and we're both good with it.
That's right. And here's the thing, the valuation of it, everything, correct. Yeah, you're the tech guy, Rex. I'm not the tech guy. I'm a Rhodes Scholar Stupidville, but every portion of it is traceable. It is all it's foolproof. You can't corrupt it. I mean, you can.
The whole ledger is out there. Literally, it's a ledger book.
All of the people on here, if I said to everybody watching the show, if I said to all of y'all, I'm going to send every single one of you one XRP, I could do that, and then every one of you can go back and you can look at the ledger and you can see the transaction history and you can account for it. I wouldn't, and you can see that it was a real thing that I sent you and that it was not fake. It was not forged. It was real. And that's the point of cryptocurrency and blockchain, is that everything is verifiable. There's not ability for you to defraud me on the other end, and there's no ability for me to defraud you on this end. Am I saying that accurately?
Pretty darn close. But I think the biggest thing that people have to wrap their head around is it's not a tangible piece of paper that you're holding, like that dollar bill I was holding, or a shiny piece of gold. It's not something that you technically you're holding. I hate to say it, you're holding pixels, you're holding bits, digital currency.
So Rex, is this the appropriate thing? Because we don't even have notes on this. This was
we're just going off the cuff. And let me give the disclaimer: we are not financial experts, and this is not financial advice. We are just having a discussion about cryptocurrency, so don't take anything we say seriously. Okay,
that's right. But here's the thing: for every one of you watching this, you are going to be affected by this. Your everyday life, every one of you're going to, this is good information for you, whether you're knowledgeable about the subject or you're not. This is all relevant to you because everything you do in life with money and banking and all, you're going to be affected by this.
The federal government's they've been trying for years now and trying to figure out how to get their claws into crypto. And I see this just as another part. I honestly don't want them to enact any laws because, as I keep preaching, laws only take things away from us. Now, in the very rare instance, a law, or in a very rare cases, laws may give us something back that's already been prohibited, but laws do nothing but take things away from us. So anytime I see Crypto Genius Act, my little spidey sense starts going off.
And Price says this is BS for old folks.
Miss
I,
Ann, I hate to say it, but I have plenty of customers in their 60s and 70s that know what Bitcoin is.
yeah,
Just saying.
absolutely.
All right.
But Ray,
Anyway,
so for the lay person, when you think of crypto, and if you don't know about crypto and you don't know about blockchain, if I could simplify it from a non-tech person perspective, blockchain is an accountability platform or measure to where you can have, 2 + 2 = 4, and if it doesn't equal 4, then that means there's fraud or there's something wrong with it. I mean,
yeah, that's a good simplification for it. And look, in all seriousness, we encourage you, if you want to know more about it, there is of course Google and AI. Do your homework and your research. But the point of talking about this tonight is, so give us the quick summary of what just happened. Why did 13? If I'm reading this X post, Twitter post, tweet, whatever. Why did 13 Republicans go with 210 Democrats to vote against advancing the Crypto Genius Act?
well, that is what the crazy thing is. So a lot of people, and admittedly, I fall into that category. While I find myself, I lean libertarian, right? That I don't want government in my crap. I think we've got too much government across the board, and the last thing I want is government in it even more. So, you know, our we have all of this fraud in the world, and I'm going to say it in the world because, for example, you have Vietnam, you have Iraq, you have everybody. They're screwing up their currencies. Like, I think, for example, Vietnam, 26,000 dongs to $1 bill. They currency manipulators. They manipulate their currencies and stuff, to get a edge against the dollar. So, you know, they came up with this thing, this cryptocurrency, and they're talking about, moving everything over onto the blockchain to where everything can be accountable, to where people can't cheat. It levels the playing field. And
Wait,
whether you think,
moving dollars over?
no,
You say moving everything
not
over.
not moving dollars. Well, yeah, pretty much moving everything. So what I'm talking about is basically you move everything into a blockchain, and cryptocurrency is the way of doing that. So, for instance, the Saudis, they may digitalize and blockchain the value of their oil reserves. South Africa may digitalize and blockchain the valuation of their gold. Um, whoever that has all of the lithium, they may digitalize that or whatever. But the bottom line is you've got accountability on everything. Transactions are equal. Governments can't manipulate their currencies against other governments for geopolitical reasons. Everything is static.
Well,
Everything is equal.
that ain't never gonna fly. So,
Okay, well, we'll work with me here. Hang in here. So China's already done this. A lot of the Southeastern Asia countries have done this. Europe's already moving towards this. The Middle East countries are moving towards this. They've all done a lot of work. Unfortunately, the United States is kind of behind the curve on all of this. So trying to get us caught up, our government, or a lot of people, they came up with the Genius Act. Trump, to his credit, is trying to get us caught up. And this has happened. You heard Trump in his speech talking about the golden age. Do you remember that?
yes.
He harped on the golden age. It's been no secret that he believed in us going back to the gold currency, and he believed that the country started going in the wrong direction. And if you look at our debt, we've steadily been increasing this debt since we got off of the gold standard. And his message about the golden age and such, and coming to fruition, you have this Genius Act. Well, what happened today was you had the work regarding the Genius Act, and a lot of people, rightly so, and this goes back to what I was saying about the libertarian thing, was that a lot of people don't want a central bank digital currency, meaning that you have a controlled digital asset that the government regulates, meaning that they know every transaction you make, every single thing. They don't have their finger on every freaking little thing.
Well, but they already do. I mean, if they really want to target you, even if you pay cash, it's not hard to track somebody now anyway. And look, I'll say this, even if the feds want to have their own digital currency, fine. Just don't jack with all the rest of them that are out there. Leave them alone. Keep your greedy, grubby fingers off of them.
That's exactly right. So here's the thing. So here's the thing. You already in everyday practice, you're already doing what crypto is about. You're using a freaking credit card. I mean, you're already doing it. And you, in a lot of senses, you're not going to see a change in your life if everything switches over to crypto. Your credit card is going to be ended up doing transactions in crypto, and you're not going to know the difference. Nothing's ever going to change in your life. You're not ever even going to know it. But versus transactions via central bank and such, that all in the background is what's going to change. But today, the legalization and the governing of how transactions are done via crypto and all that came to a head within the Genius Act, right? This was supposed to address all this. Well, all of the Democrats and a bunch of Republicans voted against all of this in the Genius Act. And the in which, and then their point was they cited that they didn't want a central bank digital currency. I'm not opposed to that. I agree with that. But the thing was on this vote in this same deal, they had an anti CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency Act bill that said that the government can't do that. So they not only did they vote against it because it didn't have it, but then there was a bill attached to this that was giving them what they wanted that they voted against too.
Well, that just goes to show you how completely inept those morons in Washington are, and I would say almost all of them. Look, to be perfectly transparent, I think I said it at the beginning of this segment, but I haven't read up on this. You pitched this out to me, hey, you know what's going on here, and I really hadn't paid attention, but there's probably, unfortunately, other things attached to these bills that are completely unrelated to crypto, knowing how Washington typically does stuff.
Well, Rex, let me take it a step further. Trump even signed an executive order banning central bank digital currency already. He did that, but I digress.
Executive orders, you got to be careful on their constitutionality. And I hate to say it, but it wasn't long ago that everybody on the right was all up in arms about, all these executive orders Obama's done. Obama's done 400 of them. Well, Trump's at like 40,000 of them. The hypocrisy of this is just mind-blowing to me. When Obama was elected and started swiping with his pen and using his pen as a sword and issuing all these executive orders, everybody on the right was losing their mind over that. But Trump does it. It's okay.
Yeah, but here's the thing. HR 5403, you know what that did? That was and that's what everybody's worried about is, the government surveilling what you're doing, what you're spending your crypto on, what you're buying, and blah, 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 blah. They already can. Yeah, they already do it, but they've already passed an act, HR 5403 in May of 2024. They already did it.
Yeah, I'm literally not worried about that because they're already doing it.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So here, let's give us Give us a
You know who's-
two-sentence thing that the Democrats voted against something. They dragged 13 Republicans over with them. Mike Johnson couldn't keep control of the House like he needed to. And so they defeated this bill, which wasn't so genius because it actually had a portion of it that the Democrats didn't want, and that was actually in the bill, but they voted against it anyway. Is that the way I'm reading this?
They just don't want no more geniuses out there. They don't want
Okay.
us to be. They want us to be dumb, deaf, and stupid.
Yeah,
Bottom
like
line.
Biden. Like Biden.
No more.
They
no
love
more
the Biden
geniuses.
types. Yeah.
Got enough geniuses.
All right. Yes, Ryan, I do get it. I'm just playing that little ad lib person to keep the show entertaining. But trust me, I do get it. All right.
Hey,
So,
Ryan, he ain't got no dongs. I can tell you, he ain't got no dongs.
you're going to make me say something that'll probably get us bleeped right off the interwebs.
I didn't say bongs. I said dongs.
I'm just going to have a sip out of my blatant advertising for Buc-ee's, even though they don't sponsor the show. I love Buc-ee's.
Well,
So
I'll have
anyway.
my Trump shot to yours.
Yeah. All right. So what's next? Let's talk about something Bossier related. Although, arguably the Crypto Genius Act affects everybody. But let's talk about something that's a little more narrowly casted, narrowly focused on Bossier, as Sadow likes to come up with that term.
Well, I'm following the notes, and I'm sure you're not. But in the notes,
no, I have them pulled up. Keel and Landry.
Oh, Keel and Landry.
Yes.
I mean, look, Mike and Aaron had another amazing interview. Look, I'm jealous of them. They do a freaking wonderful job. And Aaron, I was just talking about somebody else about Aaron. Aaron, she interviews in a way, I mean, and she is freaking brilliant the way she kind of goes about it, because she goes about it like a regular person and asks it just down the earth, the questions down the earth and normal, but she's freaking smart. I mean,
yeah, she is.
The way she does it. I mean, I can. They are top notch. That's top shelf over there. It really is. But anyway, Keel and Landry. So they did this interview with Jeff Landry, right? I mean, it's no secret about Landry and Seabiscuit. Y'all all know we coined, Seaball, Seabiscuit a long time ago. And there's been this real, for those of you with sensitive ears, there's been this real shit show for quite a while. And I thought Landry did some good in this interview.
It was quite interesting. He had some zingers, and it's no secret that we don't like Seabiscuit anyway. But yeah, let me go through a couple of highlights here. So I'm going to start where where we talk about the boogeyman.
Look, what you're seeing is, and this is something interesting. Louisiana has never had two consecutive Republican governors. Because what happens is that Republicans, when there's no boogeyman, they try to find one. Mm-hmm. And they create a scapegoat. What you should ask Senator Seaball is for the great floor speech that he gave on the Senate supporting President Trump's Education First agenda, our Gator scholarship money, the money that we had put in the budget and saved through the House so that money follows the child. He wants to talk about schools. Ask him for that speech. He can't give it to you because he didn't do it. Why don't you ask him about the speech he gave to help us pass the same types of laws that Arkansas just passed to help lower prescription drugs? Ask him about that.
Why not, Governor? Why not a courtesy call to these lawmakers?
All right, so I'll let him address Aaron's question, but notice she kind of cut him off because he was going to say he didn't give that speech either. So I've got a few issues with Landry, and I can see right through this. They're both being petulant children, just like, teenagers gonna duke it out in the parking lot. But I don't blame Landry at all.
Hold up a second. Up a second. I gotta say something. Now we're gonna take a walk down memory lane here. And I'm going to throw myself I'm going to throw myself in this and be guilty of the same, but I'm going to ask you a question because whatever your answer is, I'm guilty of the same. I'm just going to go and take responsibility. Even though I wasn't technically there, I'm going to take responsibility. So where have we heard this debate before? Where did this same scenario happen before where regarding Seabiscuit and another politician was saying it's one thing, but Seaball was saying it was something else?
Oh, pick me, pick me, pick me.
Answer the question. Go ahead.
Let's
Rex,
see. Would it have been Seabiscuit versus Gaddy at the Republican Executive Committee meeting?
Why, yes, Rex, it sure would. And what was the outcome of that situation? And now we're what, we're more than that.
Yeah, it was 2019, I think.
We're 10 years later. 10 years later, what is the result of what happened then and where we're at today?
All right. Wait a minute. I've got to go run and get my water bottles so I can put them on my shoulder so that when we get accused of carrying the water for Gaddy, I'll at least have actual water here. But I want to let everybody know, and I've said this before several times, we're not carrying the water for Gaddy. But that meeting was, because I helped orchestrate that meeting was where my opinion of Gaddy changed, especially when Seaball came the following month, and he didn't have any answers or real suggestions except Gaddy's wrong and Gaddy's a trial lawyer and Gaddy's friends with John Bell. That was his answer. And look, I got to say, Miss Ann was sitting there. Barry Butler was sitting there. There were several others that were sitting there that straight up did not like Gaddy. Period, full stop, and didn't want to hear a thing he was saying at that time. And I'm not calling everybody out, but I am.
Well, I am. Let me clarify. I'm saying that I am with y'all because had I been there, I would have. I can't honestly, in good conscience, say that I wouldn't have been sitting right there with every single one of y'all. I was in Wyoming working because I couldn't work down here because of damn insurance.
Isn't that the irony of that whole deal?
Yeah, I couldn't be here. But the point of the matter is I would have been condemning Gaddy as well too, and I would have been wrong. And why? I mean, we were being sold a bill of goods.
And look, in truth, not long before that meeting, I was no big fan of Gaddy either, so I'm not trying to say I've always been right about Gaddy. And look, I'm not saying Gaddy's right about everything, but on this insurance, I tend to believe Gaddy's version and the premium reform much more than this tort reform, which is a part of it, but that Seaball and his side keep doing because they have, like you said, they have had their chance. They have, and Landry says it somewhere in this conversation. I may not have it queued up, but Landry says, look, we passed this bill that they wanted, and guess what? Our premiums are not lower. They have increased, so they were wrong.
But more importantly, the same thing Gaddy was saying back then was that you weren't using the numbers that you had back then, the data. Right. And Landry, in this interview right here at some point, he talks about how when they started talking about insurance reform and bills, that he voted or vetoed, or that Seaball is just mad because the data didn't bear it out. It didn't bear out what he was saying. And let's not have our words. Let's hear them talk about it and keep going through it.
All right, yeah. So I'm going to pick up. I'm backing up just a few seconds, but Aaron cuts in and asks him about a courtesy call. So we'll go on and play through this because some of this is really good.
Ask him about that.
Why not, Governor? Why not a courtesy call to these lawmakers ahead of time and say, "Look, I'm vetoing your projects. Here's why."
But we did. We sent them all detailed letters, Aaron. He fails to send that because you see what the problem is. Look, here's what you got to remember. How about the DEI speech that he gave as we try to abolish DEI, which the Senate killed as well? This is all part of the body that he's in. But let me tell you what the problem is. He's mad because they want to manipulate me. And I get it. Alan Seaball's a lawyer. Can appreciate that. He's got to make money. He's mad about the bill that I vetoed that did nothing. He has no doubt on the shore that it would lower insurance premiums. But the one thing I can promise you is that it would inflate litigation costs for defense lawyers like him. He's mad about that. Look,
Bingo.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's listen to that. Gather your thoughts. Let's listen to that one time, because this is very revealing, and I agree 100% with Landry. We've been preaching it, and I specifically have on this show many times if we talked about insurance. Listen.
he's in. But let me tell you what the problem is. He's mad because they want to manipulate me. And I get it. Alan Seaball's a lawyer. Can appreciate that. He's got to make money. He's mad about the bill that I vetoed that did nothing. He has no doubt on the shore that it would lower insurance premiums. But the one thing I can promise you is that it would inflate litigation costs for defense lawyers like him. He's mad about that. Look, that capital over there consistently takes care of themselves. It's something that I dislike about it. I've always put the people above the politics. And so when they don't get their way, what they do is they get on the radio or they talk to a reporter and they manipulate the issue.
But like the proverbial little chihuahua. Yap, 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 yap.
You know, but here's the thing in what he said. I mean, it's the same thing back during the Gaddy-Seaball debate. I mean, it's the exact same thing. There was not going to be any premium reductions. It wasn't going to happen.
Gaddy's whole premise was premium reform, go by what the actuaries say, and they weren't using the data from these actuaries, which are, in simple terms, really smart people that crunch numbers. That's literally what they do.
Exactly. And I think that was the point. And I'll admit, I'll say I'm ashamed of Landry that he hasn't made this argument sooner or more publicly than what he has, because I would contend that he's lost the public media debate on this issue because and maybe that's calculated. Maybe he knows that there's enough time for him to get out there and make the case to the public to where they have enough time to process it and they can say, well, you know what? He's right. But the thing is, I can tell you the rest of the state of Louisiana, they don't know the history of the debate between Gaddy and Seaball. They don't know that. People in Bossier, they've heard us talk about it, but the rest of the state don't know about that.
No, and it's down in the weeds, and we've said this over and over, you know, not all the folks watching right now notwithstanding, but a lot of people are not as plugged into the politics and as engaged as you and I typically are, and a lot of the people that watch this show. And so, you know, people have short memories. They don't know all this little minutia about this. But I will say this. Now, my personal feeling after listening to this earlier, and I listened to it while he was on the air and then went back and pulled the audio, there is a little bit of vindictiveness. There's no doubt. There's just no doubt about that to me. They're playing a tug of war, and Landry ain't giving up. He's going to keep throwing punches, and Seaball's a little chihuahua. He's going to keep doing the ankle biter thing. So in the end, we get stuck in the middle with our tax dollars again, and that's the question that we'll play here in just a second that Mike and Aaron ask about. What about these vetoes?
Yeah, well, keep going. Let's get there.
All right, here we go.
It does seem like a lot of projects in North Louisiana were vetoed.
And I'm told it was only overdrawn by $1 million, not $15 million, which is how much you vetoed.
No, they were the construction bill was overdrawn by like almost $2 million. All right. And I don't know where they're getting the $15 million amount at. And there were some projects that we did veto in HB2. I went and I spoke to those mayors myself. You talk about communication. Senator Seaball never came sit down with me and said, "Hey, listen, I think I need the town or the village of Summit Hall needs $10,000 here. They need this." He never came. All of this was sent to us at the end of the session. We talk about communication, Aaron. Why don't you ask them that? But no, what they do is they wait till the end and they stuff it all in there, and then we're left having to sort it out. And then, of course, then he gets mad when you veto a bill that's only good for himself.
Did you?
All right, so I'm going to stop it right there as I kind of try to prep up and set up the screen.
Yeah.
So
you know why I am 100% on board with Jeff Landry here. You know why on what he just said.
Well, I bet it involves a map of the Red River that I need to show, right?
It does. It does. And you know how I know that he is 100% correct in what he's saying, and what he's saying is 100% true? I know because this is something that directly affects me. It is something that I have been, involved in. And so, as you guys can see on this thing, one of the things that was shut down was money that was put for, or request for money or proceeds. It was put forward to study the issue of this bridge right here. As you can see, 537 bridge right there. Look right there at how close that is to the river. Now, for all of you, I just want to know, what do y'all think as the river makes that turn right there and you see it eating out the bank? I'm just curious. What do y'all think is going to happen to that bridge? Do we need a study to figure out what the hell is going to happen to that bridge, or
hey, they should just pay us to go up there. They could pay us to go up there and study it. I'd even bring the video camera and we'll just sit there all day and get paid to video that bridge and watch the river undercut and eat away at the bank.
Well, here's the interesting thing, Rex, and I know you know the answer to this, but most people don't. The deal is that is the main road that I go to my crawfish farm. Every year that I go up there and work, I go up there frequently or what have you. The river has been eating along at that bank line for forever. Ever since I've had my property up there, I know that I've been watching it for over 20 something years. It's no secret that it's going to fall in. Earlier this year, I had somebody call me asking me as a landowner, I'm not going to say who it is, but asking me as a landowner up there if I'd be willing to pitch in money to go towards a study. And this was kind of back during the summer. I think the legislative session had already started. And I said, yeah, I would be willing to, out of my pocket, throw a little money into there being some study to try to see if there's anything else that can be done to try to save this bridge, or if it's feasible, or whatever. But I can tell you, I know that this proposal was not put forward to the legislature until late in the game. And I'm not criticizing the fact that anybody put in there, but what I'm saying is that what Landry was saying was accurate. I know that it got there kind of late. So, the bridge is not going to fall in, I don't think within the next year. It's not going to happen. I can additionally tell you that there was an occasion where I had a dinner with the DOTD guy, and the DOTD guy told me they already have a plan in place, that they know what they're going to do.
When the bridge eventually falls in or gets to a point that it's no longer structurally sound.
Correct. They already know what they're going to, they've got the plans laid out.
Well, look, I'm no civil engineer and all that, but, it seems to me that the only way to stop this process is the Corps, or whoever has jurisdiction and is responsible, would have to come in here and build a massive seawall or whatever, or some kind of structure, so that the current's not constantly eating away at that. I'm sure you know this, but I don't know how many people know. This is very sandy soil here.
Yeah, extremely most highly erodible soil in the parish of Bossier.
Right. So, all right, but
the
but
point
back
is,
to what Landry was talking about. Tie this together.
Landry was saying was the things that I vetoed were not things that would be, they're not projects in process, and they're not immediately right now breaking ground. They're not things. He said those are the
Shovel
things
ready,
shovel ready, or whatever. They're
shovel
not
ready.
immediate need things. This thing with this bridge, and it's against my interests, but I'm telling you, is there a problem here? Yeah, there's a problem here. Does it
Is
have
there
to have?
$100,000 study problem? That's a little bit of a slight boondoggle.
No, this is. We know what the problem is. You can
That's
see
what I'm
it right
saying.
here.
Yeah. Why study it?
The police jury knows. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
so Jeff Landry's right.
yeah, he is. All right, now, Miss John Glover says, what bridge are y'all talking about? This is up 537, which is up around Plain Dealing. This is up around Plain Dealing at the edge of the Red River.
Correct.
All right. So, all right, let's flip back over here, and let's keep progressing through some of this. It's about 16 minutes of audio. We're not going to play all of it because they weren't talking about stuff that's really relevant to the show tonight through all of this, but there's a few more quotes in here, and as a matter of fact, Aaron is going to get a text in the middle of all this from our good friend Blake Miguez. So let's listen up for about a minute and a half.
Did you veto bills as the claims are made? Did you veto bills by lawmakers who voted against your 148, your insurance bill? Did that have anything to do with your decision?
No, look, let me tell you something. We looked over projects based upon merit. Again, why don't you ask him to send you the letter I sent him? You see, Aaron, that's the problem. They come on here and they don't tell you the whole story. Or why don't you ask him to show you the data on the bill that I vetoed that he claims would lower insurance? Let me tell you something. What we did. We took the legislature's own data, okay, when Alan was in the House, and we went down the line, 7 items that the legislature and insurance companies said they could quantify savings to. And we passed all 7 of those measures.
Now, Mr. Seabaugh is not the only one that's a little bit miffed with you. I got a text just moments ago from Senator Blake Miguez, who says, quote, "This interview is so disingenuous." How do you respond to that? So you have some senators that are on your booty today.
All I can see right here is, what was the movie with Jim Carrey and the other guy? I always forget his name. Dumb and Dumber. I know you are, but what am I? 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 That's what I'm envisioning in my head right now.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm not guessing Blake Miguez realized Aaron was going to call him out right there, but
maybe not. And I'm certainly not saying Miguez nor Landry are dumb and dumber. I might say that about Seaball, but I'm not saying that about Blake and Landry. But that's just the little nya that I envision in my head. Okay, here we go.
Absolutely. You know what the common thread is? There are Republican senators that Senator Miguez is trying to run for the U.S. Senate, and everyone out there is trying to use some kind of way to get themselves on the radio, just exactly what he did. This is, again, why Louisiana has starts and fits, Aaron. Senator Miguez fails to tell you, though, that he took money out of a construction project, $1 million, to give to the clerk of court to build a warehouse to put files when we're going digitally. Ask him how responsible that is. You see, that's the game.
Well, he said this. Yeah, but he said this. I mean, that's hilarious.
I want to call Blake and say, Blake, did you really take $1 million out and give it to the clerk of court?
Yeah, no kidding. Especially that wouldn't be appreciated up here. No offense to Jill, but she's highly paid. Miss Ruth Pope Johnston says, "Are you guys saying that Seaball is being a useful idiot in tearing down an effective governor and helping weaken his administration?" I'm not saying useful.
Wow, Ruth. Just wow, Ruth.
Never did the word useful come out of my mouth in relation to Seaball. All right.
Look, I don't keep. You just got. I mean, I don't know what else you got. Keep
Well,
going because Landry is hitting it out of the park.
And this was Landry's interview with Keel News yesterday on the Mike and Aaron show, or Mike and McCarty, or whatever the title of their show is in the mornings. Everybody watches or listens to anyway. So I encourage you to go back and listen to all that. But let me jump ahead because Landry's got a good point. So listen up.
The process is messy. I say it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You notice the Democrats, they don't break. No matter what. They never break. Okay? It's why they turn it. But ex-Republicans, they consistently got to go out on their own. Somebody's got to showboat, like Senator Miguez, or people has to get on there and start complaining. They cannot all row in the same direction.
So do you...
So he's... Look, he is correct about that. Lockstep is what the Democrats do. And,
he's right. Republicans eat their own. We debate, we argue, we mix it up, and iron sharpens iron, as Gaddy would say.
Well, and look, I'm not saying Landry's totally right in this. But I will give him a little credit because it is entertaining at the very least. He doesn't back down and he doesn't suffer fools very long. So he is willing to jump in the middle of our barroom fight scenario and be in the middle of the actual fight. He doesn't care. Take no prisoners, right or wrong. Whoever he pisses off, whatever.
And that is the way Jeff Landry has always been. I mean, Rex, I think you know this. A lot of people don't know this. I've been a Jeff Landry guy since he ran for office the first time. And he has always been like that. I got to tell you, I'll tell you a personal story. I remember when he ran for AG, I thought I didn't have the utmost faith that he was going to be able to beat Buddy Caldwell. I really felt like it was going to be tough. And I remember calling Jeff and saying, Jeff, look, he's doing this. We need to do this. And I remember Jeff said, Duke, you just ignore that crap. You ignore that crap. We're going to win this. We got this. It says, just ignore that. You keep doing what you're doing, and we got it in the bag. We're going to win this. And no concern, no hesitation. There's never, ever, with a Jeff Landry, there's never, ever a bend. He always is fight, and move forward. And I've always respected that about him. And I continue to respect it to this day because he's still doing the exact same thing. He's fighting. And you got to admit, it's looked bleak for Jeff Landry here lately. It has.
It has.
But here he is. He's still fighting. Still.
Yeah. And I will say, on the side of the insurance debate, I expected him to be on the other side. And so far, he has been on the correct side, which has not equaled any lowered premiums for us yet. But, anyway, I guess we have to go through the gauntlet of the insurance industry attorneys like Seaball before we ever get anything done. Now, Ryan Haygood says he was a terrible attorney general. He did some things that weren't great, but he also did some things that were great, like helping get rid of Robert Berry. All right. So final quote that I want to play for this evening. Here we go.
And yet these senators, they come out there and they just whine and complain in order to bully me to get what they want. Why don't they put the people first over their politics?
Governor, we're up against the clock.
All right. So the conversation goes on about another 10 minutes. They did another segment, maybe 6 minutes. They got into some other things, talking about 50 Cent and Shreveport, for those of you that are interested in that deal, and talking about the film and tax credits and all that. We're not going to play through all that tonight, but I thought that those points in that conversation were definitely worth listening to. I will probably go ahead and do one of our little transcription videos and post it as a standalone video as well, and hope that drives some traffic over to Keel, because Mike and McCarty are doing an excellent job in getting some of these sound bites.
So Ryan Haygood said, I don't think I said it like that. All right, Ryan, let me reframe it for you. So Ryan thinks that Liz Merle and, that crew is doing a better job. I think that's what Ryan's trying to say.
La 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 la.
But hey, like Gaddy, Landry says, ask him for the data on the insurance veto. Ask him for the data. You know what? I think Landry's right. I think maybe we ought to get the data, and if it shows that the trial lawyers would end up making more money from the litigation that would come from the insurance bill that Landry vetoed, I mean, I would then want to know, why is it that Seabiscuit has not shared that with everybody or told everybody that? Because, if you're going to say that Landry's doing something nefarious and by vetoing that bill, and there's data that supports that the lawyers were going to make more money, why would you not share that? I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah.
But Landry said it. Let's see it.
Yeah, let's see it. All right, so let's change gears for the city council meeting today. Do we want to go into, I think you've got a couple of cuts or something to talk about with the July the 1st city council agenda. Do you want to get into that, or shall I get on my quick, relatively brief soapbox about the meeting today?
Get into your relatively quick soapbox meeting today.
Okay, so really, there wasn't much at the city council meeting. Whoops, looks like I lost Mr. Lowry. Really, there wasn't much at the city council meeting today. Let me go ahead and I'll switch screens here while Mr. Lowry, hopefully, is coming back to the show. Let me send him a text real quick and see what happened. Let's see, technical difficulties for a moment. All right. And I'm going to go ahead. There was an ordinance. It was on the agenda. The city council voted on it. But I want to see if any of y'all notice anything about this. And look, I want to give most of the new council members credit. They are tending. There you are. You made it back.
I'm back. Keep going.
All right. So most of the new city council members are doing a good job of asking questions. As a matter of fact, Miss Deborah asked, there was some expenditure about I can't remember, they were getting a new excavator or needed a new one or whatever. Anyway, and she was asking some specific questions about that. But I want you to listen to this about the sanitation rates ordinance. Now remember, Duke, if you recall, it wasn't too long ago, a month or two ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, that Bill and Ty Alley and all these folks, Link Coleman himself was up there before the city council. It was before all the good old boys got out of there. Boy, they were just uptight about these sewer and sanitation and meter rates and how much it was going to cost them. And they couldn't offset the cost by raising their rent or anything like that. And they were just all in a tizzy. I don't know where these same people were during the meetings where this was all discussed. They were, well, interestingly, not present at those meetings, but by golly, when it hit their pocketbooks, all of a sudden they were paying attention. And look, I get it. I understand why. But I want you to listen to this for just a second.
Motion carries. Okay. Introduce an ordinance to amend Ordinance 2 of 2025, which amended Section 94-76 of the Code of Ordinances of Bossier City, Louisiana to adjust sanitation rates. First reading.
Motion. Got a motion by Councilman Cochran and a second by Councilman Chris Smith. Is there any public comment? Any comment from the council? If there's none, council, please cast your vote.
Now, before I get to the vote, I mean, look, I'll give Chris credit. He asked, anybody got some comment, public comment? He's doing his thing. He's doing a good job as, president or chairman of the council or whatever. Did y'all hear any discussion there? What's up with that? What, by osmosis, does everybody just, I mean, I know they probably got advanced copies of the ordinance. It was on the agenda, but literally they're going to give the apartment complex owners and landlords a 20% break on their rates. And look, an argument can be made that, okay, maybe they deserve it. But was there any discussion on that? Did you hear any, Mr. Lowry?
I am amazed at how telepathy works, always, before with the previous council and now with this council. But I got to tell you, I think this council does it with more style than the previous council.
Oh, that is true. And there is a noticeable air of bitterness. And look, all joking aside, I will say the meetings seem to be more positive. That's for sure. But
now, I posed this question, and somebody said to me, maybe. I said rhetorically, it's funny how the more things change, the more they stay the same. And it was like, what do you mean? And I said, and they said, I said, having votes, no discussion. I said, y'all kind of know how things are going to go. And the response that I got to it was, well, maybe all these guys can read. And girls,
that's a good point.
And maybe they all can read.
They can all read. They just didn't want to discuss it. I mean, they're taking their cues from the police jury.
Yeah, but the police jury is debating and arguing stuff nowadays. They're talking.
Oh, I know. It's like they flip sides. That Philip Rogers and Chris Smith have flipped sides. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. But let's get to the vote. Here we go. I mean, it's not a major deal. It's just that there was like zero discussion on literally giving up thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to the apartment complex owners. Again, an argument can be made that maybe they deserved it, but let's see what the vote is. Come on, Phyllis. Everybody vote. Here we go. Oh, look, everybody voted for it. So that's to amend Ordinance 2 of 2025, which amends the sewer rate, or sanitation rate, I guess I should say it the correct way, ordinance. Let me drag that over there, so hold on just a second. All right, there it is right there. That's this is the actual what they were voting on. This is the amendment. And what it does, I know it's a little hard to read because it's small, but it says, upon each residential apartment complex or residential facility with one master meter rather than individual meters and accounts for each apartment unit or residential unit, the charge will be calculated at a monthly rate of $12 multiplied by 80% of the total number of residential units, or regardless of occupancy. Said charge shall be effective February 1st, 2026, to allow a reasonable time for adjustments to residential leases or agreements. Be it ordained. Blah, 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 blah. So that's what they were voting on right then. Now, does anybody know why Vince abstained from that? Does Vince own property that would be affected by this?
I don't know on that one, but let's dig into this a little deeper. Was you reading like the 80% thing, or was that what you were just reading?
Yeah.
Okay, so look, let's delve into this because a lot of people may be asking, what exactly does that mean? I mean, so like Rex, if you own an apartment complex of 1,000 units and I own one of 100 units, I mean, what exactly is going to be the difference in the bill? I think that maybe you with 1,000, you're going to have a bill on 800. That would be the multiplier, versus me with 100. The multiplier would be 80, right?
Right.
So that's a 20% reduction.
Yeah.
Well, riddle me this: why 20%?
Yeah. Is that just so? That's interesting you should ask that. Cassie had a comment. She said, I think this ordinance was a result of the meeting the owners had with the mayor's office. I forget how long ago that was. I think this was what was decided as a compromise and therefore probably didn't need further discussion. Now, but I just got to say, you're probably correct, Cassie, but I got to say and remind everybody that the apartment complex owners got up there and said, basically that, well, they couldn't raise the rates, especially those that had Section 8 housing. They're already maxed out. Well, they're fixing to raise them 80%, so I guess they weren't maxed out.
Well, I don't know that they're all Section 8, but what I would say is the national average on occupancy, you know what the number is, Rex?
What's that?
The average is 80%. So this isn't a number. There was two ways to go, I think, on this thing. There was, you could either have some kind of system where you self-reported on occupancy rate that fluctuated all the time, or you picked a fixed number in which, in this case, I think the national average, which was 80%, was a number that was picked on and probably agreed to by all parties. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't think that all of the apartment owners probably like it at all. They want the original $12 per month, period, flat rate for everything. But
well, and
under the circumstances.
Well, I want to be clear in case some of you watching aren't really sure what we're talking about. This is a situation where, let's say there's a duplex or, a fourplex or whatever, and instead of each apartment having its own meter, there is 1 meter per building, in that type of scenario. And so that's what this is addressing and what some of them were upset about. I can tell you from experience, and I've told this story before, I'll make it very, very brief, but my mom and dad used to own and manage an apartment complex in Ruston. The original buildings that were built were all on 1 meter, including the laundromat and the swimming pool. 1 meter, the whole in-ground sprinkler system, everything, and 10 of the buildings. Later, there were 4 buildings built on and added, and each apartment, there were 4 apartments to a building. Each apartment had its own meter. So water was included in the rent if you lived in one of the older buildings. It was not included in the rent, of course, on the new buildings because you had your own meter. You had to get water service. Anyway, but that was in Ruston, which is over in Lincoln Parish. Anyway, all right. So that's the only thing. Look, it's not really a big ding. It's just like there was zero discussion. I mean, they literally discussed, buying this piece of equipment. They did not discuss tens of thousands of dollars in sanitation rates.
really, Rex, come on. Is this really what people want to know about? Is this really what people want to know about what went on in Bossier City today?
No. Probably not. They probably want to know what the heck. Well, they probably want to know where we got the name of the show. That's one thing that's coming up. What else might they want to know?
Well, maybe. So you remember, a lot of y'all watching, do you remember the first council meeting of this new council last week? And you remember a couple of things that they started that were new, like investigation committees and things like that. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of you probably do. Well, Rex, we haven't done a show since that show, which was on that Tuesday, but did you know that the very next day that there were subpoenas that went flying out in Bossier City?
Well, wait a minute. So there's been a lawsuit filed and there have been witnesses subpoenaed, or is this?
Whoa! Who said anything about a lawsuit?
Okay,
I ain't heard nothing
you said
is that breaking news?
No, you said subpoena. I'm just wondering.
Well, that doesn't mean you got to do a lawsuit. I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Or do you have to do a lawsuit to do subpoenas?
Look, Congress subpoenas people all the time. Sometimes they don't show up. They can be held in contempt of Congress.
But they didn't file a lawsuit to do subpoenas.
That is right. They have the power of the subpoena. Are you saying the city council has?
Can they do that?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, rumor has it that there were subpoenas filed the very next day out of that council meeting. And ironically, as I appreciate it, I don't know the exact contents of the subpoena, but the deadlines for those subpoenas were this morning sometime.
Well, maybe we should check Section 309 of the city charter and see if the city council, in fact, has subpoena power. Well, lo and behold, imagine that. I just randomly picked Section 309 for the title of the show.
And it's even highlighted already for us to point out the most pertinent parts.
It was like that when I pulled it down from the Bossier City website. It was already highlighted. Imagine that.
Well, what exactly does this say here? Read it out for everybody so we can clear this up.
This is Section 3.09, Investigations of the Bossier City Charter. And it says the City Council or any committee thereof, when authorized by City Council resolution, may make investigations into the affairs of the city and into the conduct of any city department, division, section, office, or agency. For this purpose, they may subpoena witnesses, administer oaths, take testimony, and require the production of evidence. Any person who fails or refuses to obey a lawful order issued in exercise of these powers by the city council shall be guilty of a misdemeanor, and upon conviction in the city court of the city be punished in accordance with city ordinance.
Ooh, in the city court, that would bring into play someone with the last name of Parks. Interesting. How about that?
Yeah. Well, so this is a little bit of breaking news. This is a little bit of breaking news here. I don't know of very many people that are aware of this.
Yeah. So I
we have frozen Duke.
Will tell you I had at City Hall today regarding this issue. What?
You froze for a minute, but you're good now. Duke is freezing. Back. All right, you're back.
I'm back. Who knew?
Yeah, got to feed your squirrels out there to keep your internet going.
Is this constant or is this coming and going or what? I got to finish this sentence.
You're good now.
No,
you're good now. Go ahead.
May need to do a loan for somebody to carry out a mortgage because they're squandering my bandwidth here because probably ain't pay my bill or something. But anyway, hey, so I have it, on pretty good authority that there was some activity at City Hall today regarding this, and whether or not these subpoenas were fulfilled or not, I don't 100% know that, but I do know today was the deadline. I really was watching the council meeting to see if there were any fireworks, but ironically, the only thing we got from the mayor was how well everybody was working together down there, and I'm not so sure that that's the case. I don't think that there was a lot of transparency that took place regarding these subpoenas.
Oh, imagine that. I wonder what their answer to the subpoena was. Was it, did they draw a big middle finger in the middle of the written subpoena or what? I wonder.
Well,
inquiring minds want to know.
I'm thinking out loud. If I were on the other end of the subpoena, I would probably do the sheer minimum that I had to do to comply with the subpoena. It is a legal order, and I wouldn't do a whole lot more than what I had to do at a minimum. Maybe to try to buy time.
Yeah. And just to refresh everybody's memory, what is the subpoena over? The investigation into is it? Let's see. Let's start going down the list of things that they could be investigating.
Seaball's insurance reform? No, it's not that.
No. David Montgomery's insurance ties?
No. Wait a minute. No. The Shed Road Shed Road crossing closing down?
Closure?
No,
No.
that wasn't it.
Maybe it was.
Walker
The free
carriageway.
You're getting closer. I bet you're getting closer.
Overpass the Minton? No.
Yeah.
No.
Getting closer. Maybe it was the free parking lot sale.
Free parking lots for everybody. Yes, that was. I'm thinking you're right. That's it. Free parking lots for everybody.
See, we've got a long list of things to go down. But anyway, so yeah.
Where's Settle? Why is he not reporting on it? Where's his parking lot?
I know. Where's Hal? I mean, we're dead to Hal, but Hal could still report on this.
I wonder why. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He's not said a word.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun to see how all this turns out. Remember, now here's the question that I would have asked had I been at the city council meeting when the investigations were discussed, and it's real simple. I would have asked the city council president and the mayor and the city attorney, who's telling the truth? Was it pile driving and potential damage, or was it access? We've been told one thing by the city attorney. Remember, he concocted this whole story about him and Richard Ray. They quickly went and got their civil engineering degree online and went down there and inspected those parking lots. And then we were told on more than one occasion by Tommy that wasn't true. It was access. To quote him from the Keel interview, it was access.
Well, no, he didn't say that wasn't true. He just said it was access. That was what it was. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, what was it? Access to the broken piers from the pile, or broken concrete from the pile driving? What access was he talking about? I know. He was talking about the access to get over to Scott's Audio in the parking lots. He literally said it in the interview. So this is the question nobody's asking. Erin, she did a great job in getting that out of Tommy, but she should have asked him straight up, well, wait a minute, Mayor, which is it? Who's telling the truth and who ain't? All right, anyway, but I digress.
I don't know. My wife's sending me a Snapchat with cucumbers or something or another.
What?
We got a garden with cucumbers, and she made a Snapchat video of her cucumbers she's growing in the garden. For some reason, she thinks that's important right now.
Well, it is. Yeah, gotta keep the garden tended to.
I mean, we're only talking about parking lots for free in Bossier, and I need to be talking about cucumbers apparently. But anyway, okay.
So we digress. All right. What else do we want to talk about tonight?
Well, hey, something else that came to mind. I don't know. AG, do you recall the last meeting we passed a sign ordinance? Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah, I remember there's being some discussion about that.
Well, so they passed this ordinance, and it all got kicked off because I think it was Stonehenge wanted to have these a digital sign at the entrance, which I don't care either way. I mean, if Stonehenge wants a digital sign, more power to them. Whatever, rock on, baby. So they came up that they're going to amend some stuff and do it. Well, somebody somehow, or maybe it was the NPC, I don't know. They said, we need to put this thing in about political signs, 90 days for an election or some crap like that. Well, as it would turn out, apparently nobody considered the fact that there's already an election going on in Bossier. Actually going on across the whole state of Louisiana.
You don't say. Gosh, I mean, I wonder what that could be. Oh, crazy Bill Cassidy. John Fleming is taking him on, and now Blake Miguez, is taking him on. Yeah.
Yeah. So that presents a little bit of a problem because kind of basically the law in Bossier now is that you can't have a political sign up until 90 days before. And look, in all honesty, I would just assume them do away with political signs completely. I hate the stupid things. I mean, it is the bane of political campaigns. And
but it
signs
gave us plenty of fodder for our show for weeks on end during the city council race. Come on, dude.
It did, but I think even Vince Maggio would acknowledge that signs don't win political races. I mean,
They don't.
You
If that was the case, he would have
can't-
won handily. He only won by 38 votes.
That's right. Signs don't win races. I mean, so I'm for doing against them, but there is this issue of any bans on political signs or what have you, and whether or not it's constitutional in the first place to limiting, because I can tell you there are protections and there are some cases that reflect that you can't do that. And but yet we had that happen and we already have a race in process. So had to do a little research on this, and what I can tell you is that it's my understanding that the folks in Bossier down there are keenly aware of a conflict and are diligently working to correct that, and that it in no way, shape, form, or fashion is going to have any impact on the Senate race that is already in process.
Well, they can just come up with another amendment like they did for the landlords and amend the thing. Problem solved.
Yeah, and I will tell you, since we started this show and we got off to talking about the Genius Act, someone has advised me that Trump is articulating that he has the necessary votes of congressmen in his office to pass the votes, which is approximately 12 votes, in which, by my count, that wouldn't be enough. But if he says it's enough and Mike Johnson is apparently saying it's enough, then we will see what happens tomorrow. They're supposed to vote on it again tomorrow.
I am going to do my homework and due diligence into this Genius Act. And I want to be clear, too, when I said earlier that it was an act just for me. I am a genius in my own mind.
You are a genius, and I'm telling you that just to, pump up
just to
your
fluff
ego,
my ego.
As if you didn't need it anymore, but you are a genius. You absolutely. Yep.
Yes, and I'm sure lots of people would call me lots of other interesting things too. Some of which we probably shouldn't repeat on this show. All right. With that said,
hey, hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up a second.
Do we have breaking news or we have other news that I'm not aware of?
There is some first church something going on.
I didn't know if we wanted to mention that yet. Let's just, I'll start it with this. To remind everybody, we generally, everything that we talk about on the show since day one, for the most part, unless we're joking around, has to have some kind of political tie-in, and we've been over ad nauseum about First Church and the political tie-in there. Literally, basically campaigning for all intents and purposes from the stage, as well as running out political candidates too. So for those of you that are relatively new to the show, that is the reason we're talking about First Church. And I would say that a lot of people need to be praying for First Church.
Yeah, I would say that. And I would say that what has taken place at First Church and is the exact example of why you don't allow politics into your church and why you don't promote that and why it doesn't happen. And unfortunately, and I have a lot of friends on all sides of this equation, but a lot of that politics has transferred to another church. And the activities that once took place at First Church are now going on in other churches. And but interestingly, there are some new developments in First Church, but overall, the wider, note to make of all of this is that, it hurts the church. It brings it down when you allow all this to come in. And if you allow politicians to use their faith and use that, you get what you have. Yeah, did we get Mike Johnson? Yeah, we sure did. Was it worth it?
Better or worse?
I don't know. Yeah, each of you have to decide. Has it been worth it?
Yeah. So, we acknowledge the issues that are going on. I don't think we're prepared to talk about it tonight, except to say, pray for the church. Pastor Brad, it's one thing, but you need to pray for the members of that church. They need help. Lots of prayer. So, anyway. All right. What else, Mr. Lowry?
That's it. I'm out of here. I am going to get something to eat.
That sounds like a good plan. We appreciate everybody watching. We've been running 60 plus people for most of the show. That's pretty good considering it's, slow political news night. Mr. Lowry, I appreciate your commentary and trying to keep me on a straight and narrow path every Tuesday night.
Straight and narrow, the genius you are.
All right. Have a good night.
Thursday night, outdoor news.
Come join us. If you're at all interested in duck hunting or politics, listen to Duke get on his soapbox
quack,
about
quack.
ducks. All right. See y'all.